Welcome everyone. I'm just gonna take a moment here, let everyone load in. Right, things are loading up. A little bit of housekeeping stuff as usual. So first, hi, it's nice to see everyone again. I've got the chat open here, so that's available to everyone. If you want to have fun, banter, say hi, please use the chat. If you've got any questions along the way, we love it when it's interactive. Please use the Q&A. That way I can keep track of it, make sure I answer everyone or get back to anyone if we didn't get to answer your question. Seems like the attendees are stabilizing. So let's jump right in. For those of you who are new to Augmentt, my name is Robbie. I'm product manager here at Augmentt. And so, we do these monthly recaps so everyone can easily stay in tune with what's going on with the product, what's new, how do you use it, and what we're working on next. So I'll jump right in. We've got, I think, a pretty exciting set of releases that happened over the past month. I think the first one's a banger. So I think hopefully all of you noticed that we released dark mode. We made it pretty prominent in our release notes. We sent some follow-up emails. If you haven't found it yet, and yes, my just a black slide on purpose. If you haven't found it, your top right account icon is where that's housed. As well as the cookie settings, by the way. If you're not seeing our release notes or things like that, you have to enable the cookies for them. All right, I love it already. Best update to date. Maybe we could just stop there for the month. No, so this was really fun to do. It's one of those things where we were updating some packages, and it just seemed like a good opportune time as we were doing some routine maintenance stuff to drop in a very nice feature add there. So because of that, the majority of my slides will be darker moving forward. Let's jump into Intune. So over the past month, we dropped in app protection capabilities. And so you can now configure the app protection, manage the data basically within your apps, and then the app configurations as well. And so you've now got that fully rounded, what can users use and how is the data protected within them. So that adds a ton of functionality to our Intune suite. And then you'll also notice that as we build these very quickly, uh, sometimes there's JSON data in the bottom right-hand corner initially, and then we come back and we add the UX treatment. We do this so that we can get new functionality out to you as soon as possible. And so we release it with the ability to deploy templates, manage your existing environment, and then we brought back the edit functionality. So that was brought in for the deployment profiles and protection policies, and those configuration policies are being updated right now. Moving ahead, we've got new configurable settings within the product. So we're constantly adding new settings so that we can manage more of those compliance frameworks for you. So these two, just a few short weeks ago were only auditable. Now they are editable as well. So you see those gear icons in the product. So you can now configure the push for your authenticator as well as your location settings. Those are good improvements for a user to see where the login is coming from or what application it's coming from to actually validate that it's coming from them. And so they're a little less likely to get MFA fatigue and just, click yes or enter a number or anything like that. We've built out some out-of-box compliance templates. I think I've been talking about the fact that we would be extending this now for a little bit as part of our compliance work. So we now have CIS broken down into its level 1 and its level 2. So any of our configurable checks within the product are now added to these templates. So if you're trying to target those standards, you can easily go and apply those settings. And they contain all the new settings that we're adding as we go. And you're going to see some that are dropping very soon as well. So I'll show you that shortly. we've added some compliance baselines as well. So CIS M365 V6 level 1 and level 2 conditional access policies, all out of box, all referencing the frameworks control themselves. So you know exactly what you're applying. There's no trust me bro science on this. It's all tied right back to the CIS documentation. We have the built-in CIS M365 Windows 11 Intune compliance as well as a out-of-box template. And tomorrow we're dropping NIST CSF 2.0 conditional access policies broken down in three phases. So it's the complete framework put in phases that we believe are like realistic from a deployment perspective, right? No one's going to go and drop in 19 policies in one go and completely harden. So we broke it down in what seemed like reasonable phases of customer impact to eventually, fully harden the environment to the NIST CSF framework. So I'll show you what that looks like. But first, I want to do a little bit of a coming soon because I'll actually be able to show it to you in my dev environment at the same time. So audit logs, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks back that we were entering the beta. We've been through beta, we got our feedback, we've made some slight improvements, and we'll be dropping that tomorrow. So full audit log capabilities in the product, and I'll show you what that looks like when you click through it as well. Compliance audit. I think I've mentioned that one and shown it a few times. I'll show it again because there's some significant improvements to it, and we'll be entering probably our last beta phase before RC and moving that to GA. So, the whole point of these improvements is to more easily find the compliance evidence that you're looking for, right, within a sea of security recommendations. Um, what we were asked to do is allow you to keep a current standard in place, but plan project work towards future hardening projects simultaneously. And that was a little hard to do with a single customization capability. So now you have the option of creating multiple assessments side by side and running them simultaneously. And then updated UX for usability, and I'll show you some of that that's coming in. And in progress right now, we've got the export to PDF, CSV, and Excel. We know those are always extremely useful. So similar to what we did in the audit a while back, where if you filter down to specific settings, you can export that. You'll be able to, filter down and export, but you'll be able to align it to the compliance standard. So simply choose a compliance standard. The list will filter down to it, like CIS level 1, level 2, or your custom one, and get that exported. And then again, in the same vein, a lot more configuration checks that are coming in that are aligned to CIS. Now, I'm aligning everything to CIS initially because it's the standard that's got the most like predefined requirements in terms of what configuration needs to be done in M365. I think we all know that those then uh, fulfill many of the requirements on NIST, HIPAA, NIST 2, etc. So those will get mapped very shortly as well. So what we're using is CIS as kind of that benchmark to go get to that 100% configurable and auditable capability. But very shortly you'll see the other frameworks increase in breadth of audit as well, simply because it's the majority are the same frameworks here. So let me walk through. I'll just switch screens here and we'll do a quick demo of the new capabilities. So I'm starting in the Intune section. Again, if you don't see the Intune section, if you're new and you haven't gotten that, it is an add-on within the product. So feel free to reach out to your account manager if you don't see it. And you should be seeing it within your own NFR. We give everyone free access to it to try and explore the product. So this is our app protection policies that were just released. As you can see, you can read, existing live policies, template, deploy the same in the same way that we do conditional access and all the other Intune policies. And you can see now that they have the UX treatment built into them, and you can edit and update them live as well. So full deployment of your protection policies, and then here you have your app configuration policies, again, supporting all of the platform types. And then as you'll see, these don't yet have the editable treatment. So that is in progress. These were just released less than a few weeks ago. And we're currently working on the apps section. And so you can see that I've got a in development, non-deployable yet, but as you can see, we're building through this one. We can already read all the policy types for your app deployment. So that's coming very soon. I know is very highly requested. As I move forward here, we'll go and walk through the postures. So I'll just do show. So these are the brand new postures that are available that are configurable within the product as well. So we had the show application and show geographic location on the screen here for your authenticator. Both of these are configurable now. And I won't walk through the whole list here, but to call them out, right, we have passwords should not expire. These are all part of CIS, by the way. Calendar sharing, application admin consent workflows. Actually, I will show this one. So app. Um, so you can configure the app consent workflows now, which have multiple configuration capabilities within them. So this is a pretty big one to be able to, set up and assign your reviewers, etc. And then the nice thing is, so I'll read through the rest. There's a posture for only admin registering your applications, requiring device compliance. So those are tied to conditional access policies, which are now fulfilled by the new suite of CIS. Require new password when user risk is high. And then you've got your application enforced restriction for unmanaged devices as well. And then I want to show you the updated posture templates here, and you'll notice that all of these new configurations are built in. So I know, often part of the ask we used to get is, hey, I want to configure more things in, one go, and we are adding them now. So you can see this list is getting extremely long. If you tried to fulfill these two L1 and L2s, which stack basically, you'd be, hours deep in configuring a single tenant. I also want to show you our conditional access baselines. So when you go to the templates, we've revamped the UI slightly. So you'll see all our CIS policies here as templates independently. As you can see, they've all got the exact wording of the standard. So it makes it very easy to identify what you're looking for, make sure you're applying the right thing. I've also got NIST in here, all built out. And you can see them in, so NIST you're getting tomorrow. I've got it today, but you're getting that tomorrow. But you can see our baselines. We've got them in, so tier one foundation, and then tier two enhanced, and then tier three. And so these stack essentially. So when you open the baselines, you can see exactly which policies are being applied from the templates and what control that they're targeting. And then same thing on the CIS. CIS actually breaks their stuff down in level one and level two. So you'll see the full list of exact controls and policies being targeted. And then same one here. So the CIS level 2 is their combination of L1 and L2. So these don't stack. These are, you would apply one and then or the other, essentially, but move your way there. Don't forget that when you're deploying our baselines, you can actually select the ones that you want as well. So you don't, if you've already done L1, you don't need to redeploy L1 on top of it as you're pushing out a policy. We have these check marks that say, okay, push out the L2s, and you could just select them and move forward. And I appreciate the comments, especially when they're live like this, saying you do a great job on the standards. That's huge, especially being able to edit policy rather than just audit. So I really appreciate those comments. And let me just read out this question here. Are you going to build out the ability to approve enterprise apps from within Augmentt? Right now we have to log in. That's on our mind, and it would technically be doable through our alerting capabilities. So it's definitely on the radar, but right now we're very focused on going deep on the policy stuff, and we'll likely come back to things like that, as capabilities permit. A great question, though. I appreciate that. Of course, nothing can be is static on our roadmap. So go on our community forum, advocate. The more people who advocate for it, the better chance there is of it getting it done. The more I hear about it, the more I'm likely to push it up the list, of course. But definitely on our radar is something we've heard of. So now that we've been through the templates, I want to run you through the beta, and I hope that most of you will be excited to jump on the beta. So to get on the beta, just shoot me an email or contact our support desk. We'll get it enabled for you. We're at a point where we've had enough people in it and enough feedback to feel very confident with it, and this is likely our RC candidate as of tomorrow's drop. So, what's special about the compliance audit? First of all, you can see alignment towards specific compliance standards at a glance, right? So that was difficult to do before in a single view, unless you went through and looked at the individual postures. So now I can see that, I've got a generic CIS V6, right? The whole suite, and I'm at 56 compliance within the checks of that assessment. I could actually and will be breaking it down into a level one, level two for you guys. We'll be making an NIST one, we'll be adding HIPAA, so on and so forth, but you can make your own custom ones. So we know a lot of MSPs offer services with a defined set of security criteria or that they'll apply to the environment, but it takes time to work through those. And there's the low-hanging fruit that you'll do that don't have a huge customer facing impact and are easy to implement without getting a ton of support calls, for example. Then you'll probably start working through the MFA, block legacy auth, and other stuff once you've found out if they have any old printers or legacy software. And so you can break those down into custom assessments. So the way you do that is obviously we have our out-of-box stuff here. But if you just go through create for a template, you can choose all the security recommendations you want and create an assessment and a second and a second. So that works very well for the variation that might be available within your customers, right? Or the different levels of services you might be offering to one customer versus another, depending on what packages they buy. So that should make it extremely easy. There's going to be an export button coming real soon, so you'll be able to filter down to a compliance assessment, export, different compliance assessment, export. Also, this is where we've made improvement to UX flows. So this, for example, block legacy auth is fulfilled by a conditional access policy. So I can now click my configure button and you'll see the recommended policy that can be applied in order to satisfy this recommendation. And simply clicking this button will drop you in line. For those of you who are existing partners, you'll know that sometimes in the current audit, you'll click the shield icon and it sends you to conditional access, preloads the policy, but you lose your place in where you were on the page. So that no longer happens. And then our engineers had a little bit of fun with this because what it's actually doing is preloading next pages with knowing that there's a likelihood that you're going to deploy this. So you should notice that it loads ridiculously quick now compared to what it used to do, because as you may be reading a description, double checking if this is a policy you're planning on doing, we've preloaded next pages so you can click through them really quickly. Just a little quality of life stuff that we wanted to do. But then you should also notice that, and this is feedback I've received from many of you as we've worked through this project. Sometimes you've got an existing environment, and the environment may be close to fulfilling a security recommendation, but they either missed a configuration within the existing policy, didn't enable it, so on and so forth. So instead of replicating policies in the environment, you'll see policies that are most closely matching the template. And so you can just jump into this one and edit from there, knowing that this policy actually has everything I need, except it's not enabled, for example. Or you could just create a whole policy from scratch because you might have created your own template and you want to satisfy this recommendation and you know which policy it is you want to use rather than our out-of-box one. So we're definitely making it easier here. And then if we look at some of our typical postures. We've obviously redesigned them all to fit a more consistent flow here. So you won't get the different pages. You're always going to have your overview, your configure capability when available, and then the instructions on how to implement it. So that rounds out the functionality for today. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. That is it, and I'm definitely open to question. I love seeing the comments saying it's finally here. Been waiting for this to be launched, so that's awesome. I'm glad to hear feedback like that. Um, so again, in beta as of tomorrow, all these gear icons or these configuration icons and capabilities are coming in tomorrow, and then we'll be opening it for everyone. So I want to keep it in beta for another week or so as you guys help us find any potential glitches. I don't expect to see too many as we've been live with a decent group of partners for a while, and then we'll move this to RC and then GA very quickly once the exporting capabilities drop. So let me stop sharing for a second. I'll switch back to um, the deck, and I will let you know what we're working on roadmap wise. Okay, next exciting steps. So we're going to take this compliance audit to multi-tenancy. So you've already got multi-tenancy when it comes to the current audit. We're changing it up based on feedback. So you should be able to, at a glance, see all your assessments that are assigned to a tenant very quickly. We'll make sure there's export capabilities on here across your tenants so that you can, more easily assess at a glance. And then, as a follow-up, there's always been a big ask for, let me pick a posture and let me find out, for example, which customer doesn't have the audit log enabled. And so we are adding I don't know if you can actually see my mouse when I'm hovering like this, but you'll notice on the view, right, it's switched from assessment to security checks. And so that allows you to go security check by security check, select the checks you want to identify, and then export those things. Because we know there's two patterns really when you're working with your customers' environments. There's, brand new kind of onboarding a tenant, and we're going to bring them up to standard. And there's, well, Microsoft changed this thing or a new configuration came available, and I've got to go deploy that across all my customers. Direct send being, a good recent example of that. And so this will be a way to evaluate direct send across all your customers, target the ones that you need to enable. And yes, you can bet that the follow-up to that will be cross-tenant configuration. So moving along here, Intune work, like I said, is still happening. I just showed you the apps stuff that is in progress, and that will complete by next sprint. And then we've got script capabilities as well. So that was definitely highly in demand when we did our research for the Intune module. Many of you are having to run scripts against environments to get them provisioned. So we'll make sure that you're able to take those policies, replicate them against tenants so you don't have to rebuild them over and over. And that is it for today. We have a nice slide over here that I forgot to remove. But I do believe we have, it's not on the 22nd, but if you look at our website, we do have a continuation of this series coming up shortly. So do check that out. There we go. That just got dropped in the chat as well if you need a link. And as always, I love to stay open for any questions. And otherwise, we'll give you the rest of the time back. And we appreciate you guys showing up as you always do. Yeah, so we got a good feature request here. I think what is essentially being suggested is to add a way to integrate our safe locations to conditional access. Definitely something that comes up once in a while and definitely on the radar. Um, I would say there's two trains of thoughts to it, right? One is um, it can act as a second layer of defense, which can definitely be nice, but it does add an additional layer of manual work to manage the safe locations as well. And so definitely, if you've got so this was written by Dustin. If you've got additional feedback you want to discuss around that, how you'd see it implemented, how it can be a benefit on top of conditional access when it's tied to it, we'd love to get that some feedback. Happy to get on a call with you. All right. If there are no other questions, again, thank you for the time. We really appreciate seeing you, and we'll see you next month.